Those are just some of the 141 recorded songs that mention, as I always say, the greatest and most famous race car driver in the history of the sport, who joins us right off the top today on Fast Friday from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Good afternoon to you. My name is Jake Query. Caleb Zuber put all of that together last night, and seemed as though Mario Andretti, you enjoyed hearing your name, both pronounced as Mario and Mario. Now, I've always wondered, is it Mario or Mario?
I'll answer to either.
Okay, that's good. Depending on who's saying it, right? I guess, right?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Do you have a favorite song that references Mario Andretti?
Well, actually, the first one that I've ever heard, which was way back when I think I was in a rental car on the way to Riverside, and all of a sudden it's playing on the radio, and that's it. I figure, what's going on here?
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And I'm guessing that was probably Uneasy Rider from the Charlie Daniels band.
That was Charlie Daniels, yeah.
So did you ever meet Charlie Daniels?
Yeah, I met him once, yeah.
Before or after that?
No, after that. Way after
That's
that.
pretty cool. I mean, when you run the gauntlet from Charlie Daniels to House of Pain to Ice Cube to Amy Grant, you pretty much got it all covered, right?
Yeah, and actually Amy as well. I met her. I went to one of her shows, and she played that song.
That's pretty awesome.
That was awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, they are all well-deserved tributes. It goes without saying. This is, and I was thinking about this on the way in today, and I had kind of a crazy way in today, which I'll let everybody know about coming up later in the show, but it has been 80 different Indianapolis 500s. I mean, some of those overlap, right? But the Andretti family has calculated for 80 starts in the Indianapolis 500-mile race, and this would be the first year since over 60 years ago where there will not be an Andretti participant. Is that odd to you?
That's odd, actually, and, sad in some ways, but that's life. It's I wish I was out there yet, but nobody will give me a ride now.
So do you miss it?
Oh, of course. I mean, I'll always miss the driving side because, I'm still part of the rodeo. This will be my rodeo for the rest of my days, but being on the sideline and so on and so forth and watching that happen is nothing like, what I enjoyed just being in it. Being in it was the thing. So this I could take it or leave it, but I still like to be part of it.
When you look at race car driving, and you won in every form of race car driving that there was, whether it be Grand Prix, whether it be ovals, all of it, stock cars, all of it. What made you a great driver?
I don't know if I was ever great, but I did my desire and love for the sport. I always said that maybe somebody else on this universe is probably as passionate as I ever was, but never more. I cannot describe how much I love my driving and how much I appreciated the opportunities that I ever had throughout my career. But there was nothing else that really could have ever come close to satisfying me other than driving a race car. And I derived everything that I could have ever hoped for, my entire life from the sport. And again, I just count my blessings every day for the experiences that were given to me and the fact that I was able to drive probably as long as I possibly could, reasonably, if you will. I tried
fairly reasonably, yes.
I tried to push the envelope as long as I could, and the one thing that I wanted to avoid at all costs, overstaying, and I've seen some of my cohorts do that, and but I had a positive situation right to the very end, so I wanted to walk away with that.
How did you know, and because I think there are a lot of people, myself included, that would see, and even in the end there, when you finally left from Indianapolis, there was still fuel in the tank for Mario Andretti. There's no question about it. You still could have been competitive, and you were competitive until the very end there. How did you know when, in fact, it was time? Because I don't know that it was.
I didn't really know, but I had to make a decision before I would say I should have done it. And I think I have no regrets. My wife even said, I think she was happy that I made that decision, and I had to make it on my own. I didn't ask anyone in the family, what do you think? I did it on my own. And even Deanne at one point says, you might have a couple more years in your tank. I said, maybe yes, maybe no, but no regrets. I just stepped out. And again, at least so far, I'm still the oldest driver to win an IndyCar race anyway at age 53. So
pretty good record, right? You probably could have done it at 55, 60. Who knows, right?
We'll never know.
But when you were driving, Mario, did you find Mario Andretti is my guest here? It's Fast Friday. Obviously, the track is right now under drying conditions, and I think we will see cars out there later today. But when you look back on when you were a competitor, and I guess that competitive juice never leaves you, were you more driven by your love of winning or your fear of losing?
Well, I don't know how you can define that. Michael always said that it was more the fear of losing. Mine was a love of winning, because I was really fortunate even when we just first started. Aldo and I, my twin brother, in 1959, built our own car, with a geek and people all doing the right thing.
Right.
And we won. We both won our first race, first official race, professional race. We won. Once you win, nothing else can compare to that. So that was a good thing, because someday, finish second, top three, whatever. It can always be a good, satisfying day. But once you win, you really, really go for it. And even in those days, I think, personally, the way I approach the sport, that would have been a lot better today because of the reliability of the cars. You don't, no matter how hard you go, you don't take everything out of the engines because the engine's supposed to last that long. If I would have had that, because for me it was 100% from the word go. I had no patience. And I had thought about that. I said, maybe I should not try to take so much out of the car, out of the engine so early, be more patient. I could not. And then I said, I don't want to change my style. And then again, I look back, I have no regrets, but maybe I should have done some things differently. Maybe I could have lasted longer in some of the races where I dropped out. But I was one of those guys when that green flag flew, I just went 100% always. And maybe I could have held back a little bit.
One of the things about you, Mario, that has always, there are a lot about you that I've had a great respect for, but one of them that I truly have an appreciation for is seemingly each year you post on social media or you make note of still having the paperwork and the memory of when your family came over here, when you came to the United States, when you came. Your father, I believe you said, spoke probably a broken English. You end up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
How much of knowing the familial, I'm not going to say struggle because I didn't know the situation, but knowing the journey and the commitment that had to be placed just to end up here in the United States and seeing that with your own eyes and your own experience, did that fuel you to an extent as a driver?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Because Aldo and I just gravitated to the sport when we were just 10 years of age. Basically, when in Italy, because of Ferrari, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, been involved when Formula One became official in 1950. I was 10 years old, and then Italian Farina wins the first unofficial championship, but later on the first world champion was Ascari in 52. And that was my idol, which remained my idol, right through my formative years. But, we were still in a refugee camp when some friends took Aldo and I at age 14 in 54 to see the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. I mean, the mold was cast then, and there was the impossible dream, but no plan B. No plan B. Had to happen somehow. And when I look back, and can you imagine going back to Monza, I won 1,000 Ks in sports cars. I won the Formula One race, the Grand Prix.
Sure.
And I clinched the World Championship there in 1978 under dire circumstances by losing, one of my best friends, Ronnie Peterson, my teammate. But, can you imagine coming full circle? So you can see that the impossible dream has come true. And that's why I have that appreciation for what has happened to me because, on the flip side, for instance, on the family side, when my kids were, just Michael, it was the first one, it was the oldest. So 9 years of age, I put him in a really competitive go-kart, set up a track at a local high school parking lot and put him in a thing. And I said, have a go for it. But it all was presented.
And he was pretty good,
them.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff was a good driver, too,
yes,
obviously,
yes,
right?
Mike and Jeff, the same. And like a duck took to water, And but I gave them that opportunity to just taste it. They didn't have to wish. I came from a totally different side where for me it was impossible. And, my dad certainly didn't know anything about it.
Your dad didn't know you were racing at first, right?
No, we couldn't. We didn't dare tell him because, he had a protective instinct. Of course, the sport was pretty cruel in those decades.
Absolutely.
Just thinking, we were talking about a Scotty. He was killed.
Right.
The month before we came over to the States. And, all of the fatalities. When we were on the boat, on our way over, in 9 days, was the weekend of Le Mans in 1955 where 85 people were killed with a car that wound up in a grandstand.
Mercedes, right?
Yeah, Mercedes wound up in a grandstand. But the point is, those were the news that he was getting. The sport, and we were saying, "Oh, we want to be one of those." You kids are crazy,
right.
Yeah, and so you could see that while we were still, underage, he could have stopped us. So the first year that we raced professionally, was 1959 at age 19, and in those days you had to be 21 to race professionally. So we had to fib and say that we used to race in Italy, but also had a local guy, from a local paper, Nazareth Keys, less young, that just changed our birth date on our license,
So you got a fake ID to go driving, right?
Fake ID to go driving.
Well, okay.
Well, no computers in those days,
That's right.
so you got away with it, But the worst thing is that once I turned 21 in 1961, I didn't want to be 23, so I had to.
You had to go back and change it again, huh? That's right. Again. Well, nothing wrong with that, right?
But we also had to fib that we used to race Formula Junior in Italy, and then we won some local races, so the news got spread around. Chris Economac took notice,
sure.
And then it was
Speed Sport News is writing all about it, right?
Yeah, Auto Sprint in Italy, we're saying, and the kids Andretti, So all of a sudden, I'm getting from my relatives in Italy said, "Oh, you little devils! You never told us you were racing in Italy." I said, "No, we weren't."
That's right. Didn't want them to know, right?
No.
Mario Andretti is my guest. Of course, he is the 1969 Indianapolis 500-mile race winner, where he got a huge kiss from Andy Granatelli that day. And you have become, and you always have been, Mario, the face of this sport. And the face of this place. I think, clearly you're aware of your placement within it. Your involvement still in racing. I like what I asked you just before we went on. We know now that there is going to be, a Formula One American team, the Cadillac team. You were named as a team principal, I believe, in title. Correct me if I'm wrong on the title. But what exactly is your role with what has been this kind of complicated relationship between the United States and Formula One?
Yeah, well, first of all, yeah, let me correct. I'm not a team principal. It's just I'm just asked to be part of the
Okay.
team. Basically, if I could add, some experience situations, or something. I was just there was a favor done to me just to you have a home with us. If you like it, that's really my function there. It's not really that official. But I do appreciate it because, it was Michael and Dan Towers who started this thing. And Michael actually is the one that pretty much brought General Motors and Cadillac.
Yeah, he was the spearhead of this whole thing, right?
Yeah, then one thing led to another. He decided to step aside and everything, but they asked me if I want to stay on, and I said fine. But it's a matter of pride that a full-fledged U.S. team is involved, long-term, and major manufacturer like General Motors and Cadillac to be officially part of Formula One for the first time ever. So it's a historic moment, and with as popular as Formula One has become now, especially like never before, and it's
Right.
unprecedented in the States to have 3 events and finally have a totally, really good official team. It's a matter of pride to be part of that, small part of that.
When you think about when it comes to pride, of all of your accomplishments in racing, is there one that you are the most proud of?
Well, yes. I mean, I am actually talk about Formula One to win the World Championship, and consider that I'm only the second American to do so. And the part that I'm really most proud of is that as fortunate as I've been, I won more Formula One races than all American drivers combined. They all combined, they won 11, I won 12. And that's something that I hold very dear, and Formula One is like the Olympics of motor racing because of the obviously the truly international flavor of it and so forth, and there's national pride that goes with it, and so like I said, when I'm in Italy, I said at least that's my native land,
right.
And I was able to win there. I won Formula One race in Italy in Monza, and also I'm the only American to win the USGP, which I did at Long Beach. So these are moments that only I can appreciate.
You truly are the American dream, right?
I feel that I'm a true example of the American dream, quite honestly. I don't think I could have even begun to hope anything better than what has happened to me in my life. And by coming to America, every one of my dreams have come true. And I've had those opportunities. So I always said that there's one example of the true American dream. I'm certainly one of them.
When you think about your legacy at this speedway, and we've talked about this before. I mean, obviously with, Jeff and your nephew, John, the son of your brother, Aldo, and then as well, obviously Michael and Marco, with Marco's retirement and walking away from it, what was your overall, did you have conversation with him about whether or not it was time, whether you agreed with that, just the overall thought process of that?
Well, no, when it comes to Marco, I mean, he's certainly old enough to make his own decision. And this is something that I respect because I wanted to be the one to decide, not to be influenced by any outside member of my family. And he's done the same thing. I think you have to come to terms on your own with something that important and have no regrets after that. And I think, he just, that's how he feels, and you have to respect that. I think he had quite a bit more in him yet, quite honestly, but it is what it is. It's a personal thing and has to be respected.
You said you arrived here yesterday, is that right?
Yes.
Were you at the Speedway yesterday, or you got
Yes.
in town yesterday?
Well, I was here. That's the first stop that I made,
So when you and we talk about this all the time, everybody else, people like myself, media members or fans just in general, get this this feeling when you first come under the tunnel and you come up and you see the sky and you realize that you're inside the confines of this place. You are as synonymous with this place as anyone. So do you still get that same goosebump?
Yes. This is our Mecca. There's so much meaning to this place, career-wise, lifetime-wise, that you cannot minimize the impact that this can have in your life, and a certain appreciation, to have even feel that you're a small part of it, and it's let's face it, this is what we live for.
You're more than a small part of it. I think you know that, though, right? How are you doing just in terms of, obviously not being at every race every weekend like we had seen in the past, but the reality is, Mario Andretti, and I hate to bring it up or remind you of it, but, you have lost loved ones and you have lost friends of late. And I think a lot of race fans, when they think of you and they think of the dear nature of you and the principle of you, then they say to themselves, I wonder how Mario's doing.
I'm doing well. I'm doing, my life is full, and still, my health is still there, thank goodness. And so I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And as you say, as far as attending races, I'm doing the things that I want to do. I don't want to be pushed, don't need to be pushed. And I'm just satisfying myself if I'm not at the event personally. I certainly follow it. I try to stay, totally informed, with all the major forms of our sport. That's because that's what interests me, and that's it. This is still my rodeo, and I always say, it's going to be until the last day, and when they put me in the box, it better have wheels on it.
4 of them, right? Or 2, I guess, but 4 for sure, right?
And maybe a steering wheel too, just in case.
And here's the other thing, and think about how confused everyone's going to be when they read on that day how old you are, right? Because you've changed it 3 times, right? But We'll go with whichever one you say. But that's not going to be for quite some time. We know that. Before I let you go, a couple of other things. First off, now that there is not, and I know that we have, clearly Andretti Global as a team here, so maybe we'll take those out of the equation to take the pressure off. But is there a driver that you see now in the IndyCar series that reminds you of the style of Mario Andretti?
I like to say Alex Palou.
Yeah, well, he's the champion, right?
Well, know what I like? Because he goes for it, no matter what. Like, would he have to go out there and make sure that he's, quickest or right at the very top in every single day of practice? Yeah, that's me. That's the way I always said, because I always felt I owe it to myself and the team. You always hear from my engineers, always said, this is not important. Or what? Yes, it is. Like, this, conditions are too good, you don't learn anything. Yes, I do. I said, any single day that you're on the racetrack, somebody's going to be quickest. And I always said, if I can, I want to be me. And I like every day is important. So I see some of these guys, they probably could be up there and hustling. Yeah, they listen to their engineers. They say, you know what, don't take the risk. It's not worth it. Yes, it is. That's my the way
look
of
on your
thinking.
face right there said it, right?
That's my way of thinking, So maybe maybe it doesn't make sense, but that's the way I was made, and that's how I got, any given day that you're the quickest, you look at the smile of all your mechanics, everyone on the team, how you're satisfying their work, not just yourself, their work. It's a team. You want to keep them happy. Know that you're out there busting your butt, not just for yourself, but for the team. That's the way I'm thinking. Not everybody thinks that way, but that's fine. I respect that. But that's the way I think.
You won this race in '69. You won this race in '81, right? I'll say that. You won this race in '81.
Legally, I did. Yeah.
Okay. You still have the ring to say you won it in '81. Do you think, and dwell more on when you think about and you walk in here, those 2 races or races that haunted you that you felt got away?
Well, yeah, it's the ones that got away. The one that truly got away from me in 1987. I was, if you look at the record, I was quickest every day of practice. And
That was the Beatrice car, right?
No,
Was that 85? I'm trying to think of which.
the Beatrice was in '85.
Okay.
Yeah, and and to be honest with you, I mean that year, that particular season when I had Adrian Newey as my engineer. I felt so confident. You know, that's probably the only race when I started on pole here. The only race in my career that I felt like today they have to beat me, unless the car beats me by
Right.
falling out. And I led every lap. With 23 laps to go. And then just because actually I was easy on the engine, I was actually running in the bad harmonics of the Chevy engine at that time, which I didn't know. I thought I was, all the engine guys always said, keep the revs down, keep the revs. Well, I kept the revs down. If I would have run 600 revs, in the next gear, if somebody would have been pushing me, it would have been better. And so here you go. This one time that I was trying to save the engine and let me down and dropped the valve.
Proved your theory correct, right?
Yeah, so that's it. You know what, Mario? Keep your foot in it. Screw that.
Mario, let me close with this. I have always felt this way, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I've always felt that the true winning spirit in life is the human spirit and the human connection. And when you have the ability, and I don't, but you do, when you have the ability to immediately connect with people and know that when they walk away from seeing you, that their day was made because they say, I saw Mario Andretti. I met Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti replied to my Christmas post, whatever it may be. It is the ultimate gift, and it is so incredibly representative just to witness the way that you go about it. And to be able to, even for 25 minutes to open a radio show, be able to share that with you for just a brief glimpse of it is truly a gift.
Wow, thank you so much. But like I said, I mean, the fans are the ones that can make your day, just by showing the interest. Somebody, okay, oh, wow, especially some of the younger ones, that they said, hey, look at this and that. And it's the ultimate compliment, and I take it that way. I always will.
They say, look, there's the guy from the Ice Cube song, right? Isn't that right?
Whatever.
That's it, whatever it takes, right? Amy Grant, Ice Cube, whatever it might be. What is the day, now that we turn you loose here, what does the day involve for Mario Andretti?
I'll be out there in the pits, just watching these guys. Today is a day that starts to be exciting for me because they have the extra power, and so you're going to see some good numbers out there. That's what I like, so everybody's going to get serious about it. So that's a lot of good action.
The boost goes into the cars today, and we should see some good speeds here on Fast Friday. Mario, it is truly a pleasure and an honor, as always. Wish you the best,
Thank
all
you
right?
for having me, Jake.
Mario Andretti joining me on the program. We come back, I'll tell you how my day began, which was not at all. I was excited about seeing Mario. I had an event to do here at the Speedway, and somebody else had other plans. But I'm here to tell you about it, and that's the important thing. I'll let you know what I'm talking about when we come back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Fast Friday here at Square & Company on The Fan.
Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So, not how I planned for my day to start today, and certainly not to, I guess, I don't know what the proper protocol is here of mentioning what happened on my way in, other than to say that, I am grateful, disappointed for sure, and let me explain. Each and every Friday on Fast Friday, it has been my pleasure the last number of years to conduct a Q&A for Chip Ganassi Racing and the folks at PNC Bank. Usually it's with Dario Franchitti. Occasionally it's been with Chip himself or different people from the race team. And it really has become kind of a tradition. And I genuinely enjoy doing it every year, and they're great people, and every year I have fun doing it. And I was excited to do that again this morning, knowing that I was going to do that, and then I was obviously excited as well to have Mario on the program, knowing that was how we were going to start off the show today. So I got up, and I had to be at that event around 10:30 this morning. And you're probably going to hear me cough occasionally today, and I'll explain what I believe to be the reason for that as well. But so I got up, and I took my usual route to the Speedway, which includes driving on 38th Street westbound, there at the corner of 38th and Michigan Road, where Newfields is. And I was sitting at the light, and it's obviously it was rainy, and it's a fairly busy morning, but it was a red light, so I was sitting at the light, and I broadcast and do play-by-play for auto racing for a living, so I've seen car accidents at a high rate of speed more times than probably anybody would care to admit, because you never want to see a crash in racing. But I can see when one develops, and then you can anticipate when you see two cars coming together. I did not have any of that happen today. But I was sitting, and I heard a horrific, almost exploding sound, and heard a screech, and looked up to my left, and as quickly as I looked up, I don't know how to explain it, but as quickly as I looked up, I realized that there were two different cars. It was kind of an out-of-body experience, like I was watching this from above, but there were two different cars sliding at, when I say the blur of a speed, I can't begin to even process the speed in which, the force in which they were coming where I was. But there was nowhere for me to go, because I was in the straight lane. There was a car that was just beside me on the turn lane, to my knowledge, my recollection. But two cars made an impact in a collision and were forced. And when I say forced, I'm talking about at a rate and a pressure and a speed that I don't know that I've seen in a passenger car. And they came right into the front left of my car. And by the time the impact hit me and I realized, and all of the airbags went off, the two airbags in the front of my dash went off, all of the airbags on the side went off. And, of course, you're stunned for a second, and my first thought was I just ruptured my eardrum, because the sound of the airbags and the impact of the airbags was so strong. And, listen, I want to thank whoever it was that developed it. I don't know that, because I wasn't moving. I was sitting stationary. So I don't know that I would have, by centrifugal force, been forced into the dash or any such thing. I did not make contact with anything. But everything in my car made contact, because the impact of this car hitting me, or these two cars sliding into me, then pushed me into the car behind me. It took me, I don't know how long, but a brief period of time to figure out how to get out of my car, because the airbag had come down. I didn't know if the door would even open. I was wedged against another car. I got out and instinctively went over to the car that my car had been pushed in towards, and made sure that young lady was okay. It was a girl who had just graduated from Butler. She was on her way to move to Chicago. She had stuff in her car. Her dad showed up very shortly thereafter. And there was one of the two cars that hit me. The woman that was in that car was getting out of her car. She was pretty hysterical, understandably so. She was very upset. And the car that precipitated all of this had, and I did not see this, I'm just going by what was told to me, but I had two young people in it that jumped out of the car and, as according to the eyewitnesses, jumped in. They got out of the car and began running, ran into another car and fled the scene. Now, I don't know whether that means they stole another car. I don't know whether that means they had another car that was going with them. I don't know. I can't answer that, and everything was kind of a whirlwind there in the very beginning. The important thing is, of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, to my knowledge, might have been 6, but of all the cars that were involved, no one was really injured beyond just the shock of it all, and that is obviously the most important thing. When you go through that, and I've been in car accidents before, but I got out of the car, and my first thought, honestly, was I really want to go to this event. And I looked at the clock, and I'm trying to figure out, well, now what do I do? How do I get to work? What happens with everybody else here? Where is my car going to go? So then, and this was the part, I guess, if there's a flippancy to this, it would be this. A guy walks up to me and says, do you want me to put out the small fire under your hood? And I said, well, that certainly would be, I guess, advantageous, yes. And he's carrying a fire extinguisher. And so he gets out the fire extinguisher, and now he's fire extinguishing underneath my hood and all around it and through the engine and through the grill and everything else, and there's parts and plastic and everything, stuff all over the place. And so he's dousing down my car, which I was very grateful for, which then led to the inevitable question of, just out of curiosity, why do you have a fire extinguisher? And the guy said, yeah, I don't know. I just have one in my car in case I ever need it. Okay. Well, I mean, that thank goodness he did. But of all things that you think about, like carrying around in your glove compartment, I don't know that fire extinguisher is what I would put as P1 of the items, but I'm thankful that he had it. The police department showed up. The EMTs showed up. They checked everybody out. There was one witness, thank goodness, that stopped, and he was the one to recount all of it. And I overheard them saying, and I don't know whether this was conjecture. I don't know if they had time to analyze it. I don't know if this was based on the eyewitness account. But I overheard someone saying that it was estimated that they thought the car may have been traveling just over 110 miles an hour. The initial car that fled, or that was coming through and ran the red light that caused this essentially pinball machine of cars, and my car was in the epicenter of it. Thankfully, Todd Meyer, our colleague, came and picked me up at Newfields once my car was towed away, and I was able to get here. It really disappoints me that I did not make it to the event that I had the obligation to help those folks out in what they do. And I feel terrible about that. I feel bad for the young girl that was on her way to begin her career and her new life in Chicago. And now you figure out, and I did have the wherewithal and the presence of mind to take my parking sticker for the Speedway out of the dash so that I have it in whatever car I drive over the next week. But it is not how I anticipated my day beginning. However, I looked at it and I thought to myself, you know what? If that's the worst thing that happens to me, then so be it. And on a day when, we are here at Fast Friday, there's going to be boost in the cars. It is, certainly I'm aware of what May 15th means at this place and in this venue. This is the date that in this sport, we lost Gordon Smiley on May 15th of 1982. We lost Jovi Marcello on May 15th of 1992. So I'm aware of the fortune of it, and I'm grateful for it. And I thank everybody for their quick actions in getting out there. Except for one person did send a text that said, did I just see you walking on 38th Street? And I thought to myself, thanks for the ride. But outside of that, happy to be here. Okay, let's get back into the show. We have not even mentioned it yet. The Colts schedule is out. There's a really good silver lining in that, and I'm going to get to that, and Joel A. Erickson joins us to go over all of it in 15.
Barry and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I kind of feel like I'm just going to give myself the pass here. Just because I've had like this crazy morning, I'm going to allow myself, and I'm going to hope for the grace and the courtesy of the listening audience that they'll allow me one pass here. Kurt Cavan is sitting right here with me, right next to me, eating one of the milkshakes from the American Dairy Association of Indiana. Kurt, we got like 2 minutes here, so we'll make it quick. But I think, this morning I earned the right to just share one unpopular opinion. Are you granting me this okay?
As long as I can keep eating my ice cream, I don't care what you do.
Okay. I think that the NFL schedule release videos that every team does are totally played out. The Colts one was creative. It was, it was moderately entertaining, but I'm watching it and I'm going, I just want to know what the schedule is. I'm not keeping a legal pad for your 90 seconds of social media. We just hired somebody out of college that knows graphics design, Twitter posts. Just tell me the schedule. Am I now officially the oldest guy in the world?
Yeah. Old man. I just thought it was interesting. Aren't they a CBS football team? Kind of a Fox?
I don't think that's
probably not
applicable
relevant.
as much anymore. Yeah, it used to be that Fox was predominantly NFC and CBS was predominantly AFC, but I don't think it's now. Now it's all over the place.
Simpsons a Fox.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Really good point.
Can I get my ice cream?
Yeah, you can go back to your ice cream.
Thanks.
Okay, Caleb Zuber, I know that you had been camping out. Hopefully you did get a nap once they released the schedule. Your initial, in 20 seconds, thing that jumps out at you about the schedule?
Well, it's the bye week. They chose to have it later, not after the London game. I thought that was interesting there. And also, like, going to some cold weather cities late in the year. You got Cleveland in January. I don't know. I might have to go up there and sit in the 3-degree weather and watch that. I don't know.
I did notice there was a lot of discussion about that. By the way, somebody who's ever been in a car accident where the airbags went off, tell me this. Like, I do feel a little bit of this, like, okay, Kurt, real quick, your thoughts on it. Apparently we're way up against it because we got to get to Brendan's break. Huh?
It about knocked
But I have like an itchy.
You should have gunpowder in your.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that is.
That's normal.
How long will that
Makes
last?
it explode.
How long does that last?
3 or 4 days.
Okay, great. I'll be calling qualifying while coughing the whole time. It's the story of my life. I'm not sure exactly what time we need to get out in order to get to Brendan King's break, but I'm guessing it's right about now. Is that right, Caleb?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still loopy from the impact. All right.
Understandable.
We'll come back. Joel A. Erickson joins us top of the hour.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, I want to make sure that I just heard this correctly. Joel Erickson is with the Indianapolis Star. Caleb Zuber, who is filling in for Eddie this week, just got in my ear. And yesterday when we were arranging the show lineups and whatnot, and Caleb's done a great job of doing that, and for the most part, and to a great extent, excuse me, lightened my load this week in terms of the things that I've got to do. And so he said, yeah, Joel's good for 1 o'clock on Friday. I said, perfect. I believe I just heard him say, Joel's good and he's giving blood. Now, I'd like further elaboration on this. Joel Erickson from the Indianapolis Star joins us, and I certainly am all about people giving blood. Joel, are you currently sitting there giving blood as we speak?
They just put the needle in my arm.
Okay. Did you want us to call you?
In the middle of the intro.
Did you want us to call you back?
No. See, the thing is, I do a double red unit, and that takes a while, so I am a captive audience.
So, okay, so, and you are giving blood for medical purposes or just because as a donor?
Just as a donor. I am a universal donor. So,
you're O then, right? Your blood O?
I'm O negative. So if I don't schedule something to come back in immediately when I'm available, they start calling me very, 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 very insistently.
Do you get lightheaded? Do you do this just for the orange juice and the cookies? Do we need to start getting you questions now before you're wacky? What goes on here? Are you going to pass out on us?
That's part of it, is that I've never had an issue giving blood. So I feel like if you're a universal donor and you've never had an issue, like it's kind of your responsibility.
Okay, let me tell you.
I was told once that they call O negatives baby donors because in the NICU or whatever they don't know what the baby's blood type is. They give them my blood.
Okay, well, fair. I mean, that's a good thing, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I got a little worried when you said you're a baby donor. I didn't know where that was going, but
it took me aback the first time too.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Now, here's how we know that the Lord works in mysterious ways. I have a horrible phobia of needles. Okay, like if I know that I have to give blood for medical purposes, I'm up literally for like 2 days. Okay, my blood type is AB negative. AB negative is not only the rarest blood type in the world, but it also can only be received by people who have AB negative, but we can receive any blood. So basically, there is no greater example of sociopathic narcissism than the fact that I'm an AB negative. Because I can't help anybody, but I'm here to take everybody else's goodwill. Right? Should we read into that at all, Joel?
I think you're right. I think some things are just by design.
I mean, seriously. Okay, let's get to the meat of the matter here, and that is the Colts' schedule. Caleb mentioned it. It is probably the most noteworthy thing to me is the fact that the bye comes when it does. They are getting it at basically the latest possible time, or one of those. It may be the last, I'm not sure. But what did jump out at you, if anything? Because we have no idea how good some teams are going to be or not be.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was just the quarterbacks in those first 4 games. You know, presumably a healthy Lamar Jackson in week 1. It sounds like a healthy Patrick Mahomes. I mean, obviously the Chiefs are kind of in the same situation the Colts are, where they're hopeful, but you don't know what's going to happen with your quarterback because he's coming off of an injury. And then C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans defense, followed by Jaden Daniels, who's also coming off of an injury but is electric. So that's the biggest thing, is you want to get off to that quick start. This defense and this pass rush is going to be tested right away.
Yeah, and one of those, Caleb, which game was it where you were saying that you're going to go because it's going to be 5 below outside? Which one is that, Caleb?
It's at Cleveland, the second to last week of the season, but they also play at Philadelphia in December, which is going to be tough.
Oh, Santa Claus game. Go dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's Colts Santa Claus. Yeah, that'll go great.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Joel, do you want to do it? Joel, there's your Indy Star sidebar story right there, Joel, right? You get one. Who at the Star – Nathan Brown. Get him dressed up. I mean, he's new on the beat, right? Kind of. So get him dressed up as Santa with a Colts hat on and have him walking around at the Eagles game and do a sidebar on it.
I might have to talk to the people at Fox 59 and CBS 4 and just see if they want me to do my segment that week in a Santa costume, since I'm right there on the field, right in front of everybody.
Heck yeah. It's perfect, right? It's perfect. Okay, give me one of the two of you, and Joel, I'm assuming, especially since you're sitting there, with giving blood, I'll have Caleb do this. Caleb, read for me the first 3 games as it stands right now for the Colts. The first 3 games.
Home against the Baltimore Ravens week 1. Then they travel to Kansas City for Sunday night football in week 2, and then they're back home to play the Houston Texans in week 3.
Okay, divisional game, Houston Texans, week 3. Who is the starting quarterback in that game, Joel Erickson?
Daniel Jones.
Okay, week 2, Sunday night football, Kansas City Chiefs. Who's the starting quarterback in that game for the Indianapolis Colts?
Daniel Jones.
All right, week 1, Baltimore Ravens.
I think it's going to be Daniel Jones, and the reason I think this is that Jason Tatum convinced me new things are possible with Achilles tendons.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, and look, and Tatum probably, I don't know. It's unfair to equate the movement of a basketball player versus an NFL quarterback and the necessity and et cetera. But yeah, that's a fair assumption on your behalf. I want to ask you and we'll get back into the schedule too, Joel, but I'm not giving blood today, but I'm wacky today. So I've got a non-football question for you. Are you ready?
Okay, what do you got?
Okay. Well, you were busy getting hooked up and strapping rubber bands around your arm, so you would not have heard this, but and I'm going to live on this for the next 3 hours. I was in a car accident on my way into work today, okay? I was on my way to the Speedway, and speaking of Speedway, somebody was turning 38th Street into just that. I'm a little disappointed that there was no detritus that actually went through the Crown Hill Cemetery fence, because that seems to be a weekly event. But like 5 or 6 cars were involved, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was pretty bad. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but there were literally 6 cars totaled. I mean, that's a fair statement, including mine. And when I finally did manage to get out of the car through the airbags and the smoke and the steam, I mentioned earlier when I was just telling the story that a guy comes walking up on 38th Street and says, "Do you want me to put out the fire under your hood?" And I said, "Well, that would seem to be, yes, a decent idea." And I looked, and in fact, there was fire under the hood, okay? And he says, "Do you want to pop the hood?" And I thought, well, I don't know. I don't think I want to reach under here for the little latch. I don't know what beast of the inferno is there. And I look over, and he's got a fire extinguisher. So he uses the fire extinguisher to extinguish the fire underneath the hood of my car there at 38th and Michigan. And I was very grateful for this, because at that point I realized the car's probably totaled, but I didn't necessarily want everything in it going up in flames. And now my question for you is this, Joel A. Erickson, as the esteemed journalist that you are. Are you more in that moment, if you're me, taken by the grateful nature that you have that this fellow was there to put out the fire, or the burning question, pardon the pun, of who in the hell is walking around with a fire extinguisher?
Probably the second one, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I said to the guy, once the dust settled, again, pardon the pun, but I said, "Listen, I really appreciate this, but just out of curiosity, who are you? Like, what do you do?" And he said, "I just had it in my car."
Is he an Eagle Scout? Isn't the Scouts are supposed to be always prepared?
I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, honestly, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I mean, I just rolling around with a fire extinguisher. That's cool. I mean, I guess you never know when you might need it, and he did, right? So, lucky me, right? My lucky day.
I was in something like that situation once in northern Mississippi when I covered the SEC, and there was a bad wreck, and we were the first one on it. I ran up and helped them get the door open, and we're kind of between Jasper, Alabama and Oxford, and there's not really anything out there, and I'm thinking, what are we going to do to help this poor person? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this dude walks up with a full medical kit. He was an EMT who was on vacation with his family. And I just was thinking, thank God this person was on this stretch of highway right now.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, thank goodness I had some guy just rolling around with a fire extinguisher in the back seat, I guess you never know, right? You never know. Joel, what is for you, and this is going to sound like a kind of an open-ended question, but when the schedule came out, was there any scenario that you thought could have been a bad versus a good one for the Colts in terms of the schedule itself? I mean, we don't know what team is really going to be good, who's not, etc. When you looked at the opponents, was there any sort of benefit you saw as to how it could fall, and if that's the case, it did or did not in the Colts' favor?
I kind of thought that, some of these teams that they have on the schedule with some iffy quarterback situations, the Clevelands, the Miamis, Malik Willis is taking over, but there's not much around him. Some of these teams, because by winning percentage, the Colts supposedly have an easy schedule. Now, I think that's kind of misleading because the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs last year, and they're the Chiefs. And the Ravens didn't make the playoffs last year, and Lamar Jackson's still there. But I thought with some of those teams that are on the bottom, if you got them early and could maybe get on a run, or feel like you could get on a run, that could, just as this defense gels with new starters, they didn't get that. They ended up with MVPs in the first two games. So we'll see if it plays out that way.
What unit for the Colts do you believe will be most tested in the first quarter of their season?
No, absolutely the pass rush. Absolutely the pass rush. Because if you just think about the athletic profiles of three of those four quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, I don't know if we've ever seen anybody more elusive at quarterback. Jaden Daniels is the same way. And then Patrick Mahomes, he's not known for running, and maybe with the coming off the ACL, he's not as mobile, but that's a guy who will absolutely make you work as a pass rush to try to get him down as he bobs and weaves and gets all over the place. Those guys, sometimes those more elusive guys give up sacks because they run around a lot, but they also, it's a very, very difficult day for a pass rusher when they're moving around the pocket that much.
How are things going with the blood flow here? Can we get an update?
We are good. We haven't had, if you hear a big noise, that's when it's time to switch over. The first time, right now, I think I'm getting saline back or whatever it is. And then there'll be a noise that alerts them to do something, and then I have a little bit longer.
How long a process is this? And I encourage everybody, by the way, all the kidding aside, it's a wonderful thing you're doing, Joel. And, the Indiana Donor Network, I know the great work that they do for organ donation. Blood donation is obviously critically important, and what you are doing is very commendable. How long a process is it?
Double red usually takes around half an hour-ish.
Oh,
a little bit more than that.
We're keeping you 17 more minutes. We're keeping you the whole time. Where are you going? You know what I mean?
Like I told you, I am a captive audience today.
Well, listen, Joel, if you could spread the word for more people to give blood between 12 and 3, that's our best chance at getting captive audience on the regular. Can you let people know about this? We will be extremely grateful. I'm doing anything I can to get people locked and loaded in their seat, and that would be there's the line of thinking right there. Now,
yeah.
Here's how blood donation ties into the conversation that we're having, okay? When I was a kid, and when I say a kid, I mean when I was 4 years old, my mom was convinced I was going to be a doctor. And my parents, I even had she bought me a little wooden caricature thing of a doctor for my bedroom, normal for any kid to have, right? And so I wanted to be a doctor. I was fascinated by the underground tunnels at Methodist Hospital. I wanted to be a doctor. And so my mom had a friend that worked over at the blood center at Methodist Hospital and took me down there, and I got to walk around. And we went into the blood center in my big field trip to become a doctor, and I walked in, and they were separating plasma from blood in the little bags, spinning it back and forth. And I almost threw up. I walked out. I then slid down. I looked at my mom and said, I'm going to be a sportscaster. That's a true story. So here we are. Full circle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope I'm not making you squeamish just being on the phone with you while this is going on.
I'm a little worried. Again, if you need to stop and take yourself some apple juice or orange juice or a few cookies, don't let me stop you, right? If you start getting lightheaded, don't be a hero. Just let somebody know and don't feel like we've got to continue. If you start saying loopy things, we'll let you know, okay? Who will be the Colts? Jonathan Taylor is obviously the bell cow running back for the Colts, but what is going to be their depth chart at that position as it stands right now?
That's a great question, because I think it's going to be a 2A and 2B situation. But the thing is, in terms of if Jonathan Taylor were to go down, I think you see right now, I think your best guess would be Seth McGowan and DJ Giddens, who would be sharing the workload if Jonathan Taylor went down with an injury. Now, in terms of game day, in terms of what happens once we get to the season, I think as long as Jonathan Taylor is healthy, and if he's healthy, he's getting most of the carries, but whoever the number 2 guy is on that day is going to be dependent on whether Giddens or McGowan can play special teams. That was a big reason why it was hard for them to keep Giddens active last year, was that he didn't play special teams. Amir Abdullah did, and that's why he was active for stuff. So I think it's going to be dependent on which one of those guys can carve out a role on special teams as long as Jonathan Taylor's healthy. If Jonathan Taylor is hurt, then I think you get both of those guys. Or, I haven't gotten we saw rookie minicamp, but I am a little bit curious about undrafted free agent Jordan Vaughn from Abilene Christian, who is every bit of 6'3" and 230 pounds.
Joel, you haven't mentioned my guy yet, and I think he's still hanging around, isn't he? Yeah, he
is still around.
Does he factor in? Can we pretend that he does?
He had a carry in a football game last year, and so therefore he does factor in, I think.
Okay, well, we'll take it, right? Yeah, that's correct.
He wasn't written off. He was a player for the Colts last season. So,
well, and my understanding too is, and this is perfect, polo season ends in late July, so he's got time to make it for camp, right? Isn't that right? Yes, that's correct.
I can't speak to polo season, but if it does end in late July, that would be perfect for him.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely perfect, right? Okay, which NFL team, in your opinion, Joel, had the best, I guess, way of releasing their schedule, or are you like me in the fact that you instantaneously got old and realized that you think those are lame?
So whenever those start coming out, I kind of wait for social media to tell me like what the best ones are and what the worst ones are, and I kind of just watch those and don't worry about the rest. This is partially because I'm going to have a story coming out on this after I get unhooked from this machine. But I think the Colts did a pretty good job bouncing back from last year. Getting the Simpsons, my understanding, is not an easy task. And then I think the other thing that they did that is the way these schedule release videos go. I was talking about this with some other writer friends yesterday. It's kind of like teams stake out what they do. The Chargers are the Chargers, and then the Titans will do the man on the street thing. I think the thing the Colts did, besides getting the Simpsons this year, that is really innovative, is that they poked fun at themselves. Most teams poke fun at everybody else. They were willing to poke fun at themselves. I really think they did a pretty good job bouncing back from a pretty embarrassing 2025 video.
You saw the chalkboard, right?
Yes.
The chalkboard, that for those that don't know what we're referencing, a year ago, was it a year ago or 2 years ago, the Colts got in some hot water because they made light of Tyreek Hill. And this year, because it was the Simpsons, it had Bart Simpson at the chalkboard, and he was writing, "We will not reference Tyreek Hill. We will not reference Tyreek Hill," et cetera, et cetera. And that was the big thing, right?
Well, they also had a tire fire on there, and it was the 2025 schedule video. Was what it said.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not bad. And then there were a couple different references to the losing streak in Jacksonville. There was 4,200.
I did see that.
Days,
yep.
And that was exact. I'm told that the people at the Simpsons figured it out, so that it was the exact amount of days. And then they put the famous GIF of Homer sneaking back into the bushes whenever that game came up on the schedule.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. And Homer getting fat during the bye week.
Yes.
Also solid. Speaking of which, Joel, just so you know, typically the bye week is when I go on vacation, right? I think it's probably true for a lot of us that cover the NFL. But
right.
now we have a potential conflict of interest from a scheduling standpoint, because that also would typically be the weekend that I go to Milwaukee. Means nothing to you, means nothing to the listening audience, but it does perhaps factor the travel plans of the beer ferry.
Well, that's a good time for the beer ferry to show up right before Christmas.
Listen, beer ferry, dangerous time to show up when you're low on blood. So do not let that ferry hanging around the house tonight, okay? Be careful by all means. Don't be a hero, okay? This is what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't know. This is not medically approved in any way, and I'm sure that if the nurses are listening, they're going to look at me and shake my head. The doing the double unit thing, I feel like is less of a big deal than doing the whole unit. If you hear that beeping, that's my machine going off. I'm halfway done.
Joel, just so you know, I'm sitting 5 feet away from where Brendan King is doing track updates this week. So beeping, I'm not even going to notice it, okay? This morning during the collision of my airbag going off, I thought I ruptured the eardrum in my left ear, and then I realized that actually is the ringing from Brendan yesterday doing the updates. So, you know what I mean? It's all relative. Okay, last thing here. When you get done with your blood and you go home and your wife greets you at the door and gives you the hug of being, the kind donor that you are, and says, how did things go? And you say, it was great. I was on Jake's radio show, and we talked about the Colts. And she says, well, what did he ask you about this? And then you say, can you believe he didn't ask that? What is the burning story of the Colts that we have not yet covered?
Man, I don't know. Normally I can come up with something here, but I kind of feel like we've got it down. The burning story, I think, for me, and we won't have an answer for this for a while, is what happens with the number 3 receiver. I think that's the thing that sticks out to me. And it's not going to get answered this summer. It might get answered in training camp, or at least initially answered in training camp. But who the number 3 receiver is, I don't think it necessarily matters when everybody's healthy, because I think Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce and Josh Downs can carry enough of the target share themselves. But if one of those guys goes down for a game or two, or worse than that, I think all of a sudden that number 3 receiver, whether it's Deion Burks, whether it's Nick Westbrook-Akine, whether it's Ashton Doolin, I think that becomes something that's kind of been gnawing at me over the last month is what do they do if Pierce or Downs gets hurt and has to miss time?
Joel, that's a figment of your imagination. Nothing's gnawing at you. It's a needle in your arm. You've got a needle in your arm. Don't move. Stay stationary. You got 9 minutes left. Be strong. Stick it out here, okay?
We're doing good. I'm not even cold from whatever they shoot back into me after they separate the blood from itself.
How often do you do this?
I think it's 16 weeks.
It's very, honestly, I mean, all kidding aside, man, that is very impressive. And
they will come up and ask me at the end of this, do I want to reschedule? And I usually do. And then sometimes I have to change it if, I didn't think about a practice or something that I have to do in the fall.
I mean, I'm telling you, here's the thing. Since you have no aversion to this, we're going to do this like Seinfeld, where Elaine has to give the urine sample and just uses Mrs. Seinfeld's. The next time that I've got to give blood to get some of my levels checked, can I just swing by your house? Pick up a pint? Is that fair?
Listen, when you're an O-negative universal donor, I think every time I say that, I think the people in these things go, we're only supposed to take a pint. But what if?
Yeah. Well, listen. Enjoy. I'll simply say that. Enjoy, and then enjoy the orange juice and the cookies afterwards. Okay?
Appreciate it, Jake.
Don't be a hero. Joel A. Erickson, already a hero, I'm just saying, for doing that. But don't overdo it when it comes to that. Joel A. Erickson, Indianapolis Star. Again, Colts schedule release yesterday. So I do think the bye week is a big one. The fact that you get it as late as you do, because I'm a big believer in that. I talked about it yesterday. I just think that sometimes there's just something about, not even from the physical standpoint of trying to get healthy, but I think more so almost like the emotional aspect of it is, you come off the bye week and you get that time off, but then you just are able to reset for that final push. And whether or not that final push is going to be one where they are truly in the thick of it or truly trying to get themselves in some sort of a playoff push, I don't know in that regard. I'm not as high on where they are as others. Not that I don't think anybody is overly optimistic about them, but yes, they were certainly a good football team when Daniel Jones was healthy. And you could make the argument that they may have been the best team in the league when he was healthy. And they were playing certainly at the most cohesive level. But there are a lot of things that come into play with that. Just as we talk about with the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton, we just have this automatic assumption that Halliburton comes out and is exactly in the same form that he was prior. And we feel that way as well about Daniel Jones, but we don't know it. And if Jones is able to come back, if he's able to play at the level he was playing from a physical standpoint, then you get into the question of just the mental standpoint. How behind the eight ball is he going to be in terms of just his playing style and the timing that he has and everything? Because he more often than not with the Giants, there is a reason that he was available. He showed those flashes, but he did not have the ability to consistently play with them. He did last year show that consistency until I really did think Pittsburgh, when they started bringing the kitchen sink at him, it did seem to throw off his game a bit. It just did. And then from there, you wonder if, was that in fact, and then it was after that you find out that he had the lower leg injury, and then that, we know where it went from there. They need him to not only be healthy, they need him to be healthy and consistently in groove. And the first one I think we probably know is going to happen, certainly at some point. The second one is the question mark. As simple as that. All right, we'll come back. We will get back into a little bit more of that. And do we have, Caleb, I should have asked you this before, but as I mentioned, a little tied up in the pre-show time this morning. Do we still have tickets to give away for the Indy 500, or have we now exhausted our ticket allotment?
Today's the last day of them. We've been doing it all week, so we got one more pair to give away today.
Ooh, one more pair to give away. All right, we'll discuss exactly how we'll do it, and we'll do it on the other side.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, David Salters just walked up from Honda, and I had a gift for him, and then my entire morning went foobar. Yes, I do have it here. David, let me present to you real quick while we're live on the air here. Yesterday, we had this great moment of bonding epiphany in your love for Oasis. Jenna Fryer has Jenna, didn't you get a milkshake, Jenna? Jenna's enjoying her milkshake. Okay, David, real quick from the Honda Racing president for Honda Racing USA. Now, yesterday we determined that the one thing that we have in common, because I've got to be honest with you today, but I didn't confess this to you yesterday. I took algebra 7 times in college. I flunked it 7. I dropped the 8th. Then I got a tutor that allowed me to finish it. In high school, I had to take physics, but I took a remedial form of it called chem physics because I'm not smart enough to figure that out. And I have no idea, like, any angles or anything else. In other words, your brain operates on a completely different wavelength from mine. And yesterday, yet you were kind enough to humor me, right, by pretending that I had the intellectual capability to converse with you. And so as we're talking, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy is probably thinking to himself that he is doing some sort of a charitable service by talking to the chimp that's talking right now. And then I said, I can find common ground in this. And I found out that you love Oasis, right?
I do. And I think you're being far too kind to me.
And
my colleagues would disagree with you. But
well, listen. I mean, listen. Like I said, I mean, you're developing racing engines, right? And you know, I'm actually still. I've got a subscription to Boys Life, if that tells you my intellectual capability. But having said that, when I was at the Oasis show in Manchester, I picked up a couple of souvenirs, and I'm one of these weirdos that buys like 2 or 3 of everything in case I lose one or something happens. And then last night I got curious and I looked on the internet, and apparently this is like some big collector's item because they only sold them sparingly. And then I thought, well, this guy's got to have 50 Hondas at home in his garage. So he's got all kinds of car keys, and he loses his car keys everywhere. And how embarrassing is that when he's developing cars and he can't find the keys? So I brought for you from Manchester your very own Oasis Live 25 keychain, which looks to not be much of anything, but there's a very limited supply, and there you go.
That is amazing.
So, there you go.
No.
I figured, you know what? When you come to Indianapolis, aside from trying to win the Indy 500, you can say to yourself, I got milk and a keychain.
That has become one of that will go with all my trophies.
There you go. There you go.
Actually,
I aim to please.
I've been doing this. I've been president for 5 years. I've been doing interviews. This is the best one.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
No one ever gave me an Oasis collector's thing.
And it's straight from your neck of the woods, right?
So it is.
There you go.
You are by far the best interviewer and radio program that exists, in my humble opinion.
I appreciate that. And when I lose my car keys, I'm going to call you and ask for that back. Okay, just so you know.
Right.
Which will probably be in a year. But there you go.
Thank you very much.
Hey, my pleasure.
So
my pleasure, absolutely. Okay. Now, Jenna Fryer is here as well, formerly of the Associated Press.
I'm not speaking to her. She's not going to give me an Oasis.
That's right. See, this is what I bribe people around here.
Difficult questions about racing. We spoke about Oasis for 20 minutes.
Correct.
Nothing to do with racing.
That's correct. That's what we do here, right? Okay.
David, Jake didn't tell you that he gave you that gift because in return he needs a new car.
I do. I got in a car accident this morning. Yeah, I need. Yeah. There you go.
Look at the airbag dust all over him.
That's right.
So if you can bring him a car, it'll be an equal trade-off for the keychain.
That's right. No, that's what I didn't tell you. You're not allowed to keep the keychain. I need it back with a car key in it. Yes. If you could do that, that'd be great. All right, there we go. Okay, so Jenna Fryer is here. Jenna, your thoughts on the you were here with me yesterday. Jenna Fryer.
2 days ago, and you missed me so much, you begged me to come back.
Actually, yeah, I forgot. You're right. It was 2 days ago you were here, and then yesterday we replayed it, and I pretended you were here again. So Jenna Fryer of Substack, formerly of the Associated Press. Well, that's what you are, right? First up, I'd like to know what exactly – I just gave David that keychain. Now, what did you do for Gene Simmons to give you that jacket?
Oh, be quiet. This is 1909.
I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's got the original IndyCar logo on it, the whole deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And it's perfect today because it's a little bit chilly out here.
It is a little chilly.
Your thoughts on the Colts schedule? I told you to review the Colts schedule. I said we're going to be talking Colts schedule. Colts schedule release. I need to know what you thought of the graphics that were done.
The only thing that I know about the NFL schedule releases are who made fun of Vrabel in their announcements.
Oh, did somebody?
Yeah, the Chargers.
They did actually do so?
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I didn't see. Caleb, were you aware of this?
I didn't see this. This is news to me.
So they so the NFL had come out and said that they would not pre-check the videos. And so that Vrabel was free. If you said something about Vrabel, you were not going to get in trouble with the NFL. You just might have a problem with the Patriots. So when the Chargers, at the portion where they announced their game against the Patriots, they took a dig at Vrabel.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that seems saucy, right?
It's spicy. Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of drama that you need. That's what makes sports go round, right?
Right. It's like Roman Grosjean and Marcus Armstrong.
Yeah. Do you really think those two were going to fight, though?
No. No. But then you get all the crew guys in there, and it just looks better.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys just standing around beefing and pushing, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't even think there was pushing.
Kind of looks like here when they have the milkshakes, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
You're something else.
What do you mean?
You survived one near fatal accident. And
it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I saw the pictures, and you're covered in airbag dust.
I know, this is a good look, isn't it? Yeah. I wore my look. I knew today. I'm like, it's Fast Friday. I love Fast Friday. There have not yet been, by the way, folks, if you're wondering, there have not been cars out on the track. They're drying it right now, and we shall see some speeds perhaps between now and the end of the day. But I got up this morning, and I had an event that I had to do, and then after that, I had Mario Andretti right off the top of the show, and I made sure, and Fridays typically are my shower day anyway, and then I put on the best cologne that I have, and I was all fired up, and then literally I get fired up with
airbag dust.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So, and can you smell the airbag?
I can't, but I'm not that close to you today. Today you taped me 4 feet away.
That's right.
You duct taped me to the desk 4 feet away.
That's right. Well, I'm kind like that. What has been for you, Jennifer, the observation out here so far this week that jumps out at you?
It's too calm. Hinchcliffe and I were talking about that. Like, nothing's happened. So, like, are bad things about to happen? Well, yes. Your near fatal car accident today. But let me just knock. I don't know. It's just calm. Aside from some Chevy engine hiccups, it hasn't really been anything.
Yeah, it does feel like so far, and I hate to say it because I love being out here, but it does feel like we've just kind of gone through the motions, and it's like things haven't really ramped up yet, right?
No. And, you've had a lot of drivers not complaining, but remarking that there's not been a lot of running. They've not done a lot of running. It's been a lot of single car stuff. They're kind of itching to get going, and they're excited for the boost today. And now it's been, what time are we at? We're an hour 40, and it hasn't started yet.
Now, the boost itself, it's always early to know this. I mean, I think the top speed so far, just over 228 miles an hour. That was turned in by Pato Award yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
The boost, and I always forget this every year, but we shall see, probably an extra 5 miles an hour, so we'll see somewhere around 233s, Riley?
We'd like to, right?
Likely?
Yeah.
I mean, today the conditions would seem to be, once they get it dry, pretty favorable for high speeds, right?
I mean, I don't do engineering and like all that stuff.
David does.
David, let's get him back. Let's get him back.
That's right.
When he runs your car.
Well, the only problem is I only have one keychain. I can't bribe him again, right?
Right.
I mean, I got you a milkshake. I got him a keychain.
You didn't give me a milkshake.
Oh, no, I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Bruce did.
Bruce Martin?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is this after he took a picture of it or before?
Well, he took a picture of Mario Andretti eating a milkshake.
Did he?
Yeah.
I had Mario on for...
and he wrote, "Winners eat milk," because he posted it.
Okay. Mario Andretti truly is a gem, though.
He is a gem. I have a funny Mario Andretti story. So on Friday of St. Pete this year, season opening weekend, first day of school, TWG Cadillac announces that they're going to call their first Formula One car the Mario Andretti chassis 20, whatever. And I see him in Andretti Hospitality. And I say, "Mario, congratulations, they named the car after you." And he's like, yeah. And he's got his hands he's standing there, he's got his hands in his pockets. I said, "Are you going to Australia?" And he's like, "Well, I haven't decided yet." And I look at my watch, and I'm like, "Well, it's in 7 days."
It's a little different. Mario Andretti's not getting on orbits, right?
No,
you know what I mean?
So TWG's the woman who handles all that happens to be standing there, and he looks at her and he says, well, if I could get there on Friday, could I have someone pick me up at the track and pick me up at the airport and take me straight to the track? And she says, yes, we can arrange that, but it's very far, Mario. It's very, very far. And he's nodding and he's quiet and he's thinking and he says, I don't have anywhere to stay. She says, well, we can take care of that, Mario. But it is a very long trip. And he says, I don't have any Cadillac gear. She says, I've got a lot of Cadillac gear I can get you, Mario. He's like, okay. 7 days later, first practice, FP1, camera goes to the Cadillac, garage, and there's Mario sitting next to Mary Barra and Mark Royce from General Motors.
It's the way it works, right?
Like what?
It's the way it works. It's good to be Mario, right?
How much did that flight cost?
Well, I mean, Spirit, he got a discount just before they went out of business, right? That's why Spirit closed, right? They were making extra flights to Australia, and it unfortunately wasn't in the budget, right?
I guess so.
What's the coolest place that you have traveled in your work with the Associated Press?
I've been to all six. I've been to 6 of 7 continents. So my favorites have been. I love the Tokyo Olympics. I absolutely love Tokyo. It was during COVID, so it was extremely locked down. I mean, people complain about how the United States handled COVID. Well, you should see how Japan.
Right.
But we still enjoyed it, although it's the hottest place I've ever been in my life. And that says something because I've been to the Middle East 2 times. And I did like Dubai, but I was there in their winter. So it wasn't 135
So it was
degrees.
manageable, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I like Dubai. I like Tokyo. I liked.
How about Antarctica? Did you like that?
I haven't been to Antarctica.
Okay.
That's the one I haven't been to.
I was thinking South America is the one you haven't been to.
No, I've been to South America. I actually extremely liked Moscow.
I believe that.
Yeah, it was great, and everybody was like, "Aren't you scared? Aren't you scared to go to Russia?" And I said, "Global events are the safest place you can be, except maybe a global event in the United States. But global events are super safe. Like, you try something funny in Qatar or Moscow, they'll kill you on the spot.
So here's the thing. You've been to, internationally speaking, if you
World
think
Cups
about
and Olympics.
Some of the places.
And F1.
So you've been to Moscow, you've been to Dubai, you've been to Japan.
Abu Dhabi.
You've been to Abu Dhabi, and you went to college in West Virginia. I mean, this is like all worldly experiences, right?
What are you trying to say, Jake?
No, I'm just saying it's. I've been to most parts of this country and some parts of West Virginia. West Virginia is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time.
It's beautiful.
Probably haven't been there in 25 or more years.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Morgantown's kind of cool.
Oh, it's a great town.
Every time I get a hankering to burn a couch, I head over. You know what I mean? Okay, do you have time to stick around for a couple more minutes here?
Sure.
Okay, Jenna Fryer will continue the conversation, and we do have tickets to give away for the Indy 500. We'll do it between now and 3 p.m., we will give away a pair for the sold-out Indianapolis 500-mile race. You're listening to Query & Company 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza. 19 Central Indiana locations and 26 across the state of Indiana for Chicago's Pizza. ChicagosPizza.com is the website, and I always tell you about the lunch buffet, which is fabulous. Traditional pizza, deep dish pizza, salad bar, fresh breadsticks, dessert pizza, all of that with a soft drink for a price that is the same as what you're going to pay at some greasy place you're going to regret later. I can promise you that. The price is right, and the food is fabulous. And then it goes without saying, this weekend, perfect night. Why not make it a pizza night tonight and tomorrow night with the family meal deal? 2 medium, 1 topping pizzas for just $25, and that does include a fresh order of breadsticks. There's a story in every slice at Chicago's Pizza. They take a pride in what they do, and they love the community they serve. We would love for you to stop in and find one near you. Any of the locations in Central Indiana or across the state, find one at chicagospizza.com. Hey there, Jake Corey for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Surfside, of course, I'm talking about iced tea with a splash of vodka, lemonade with a splash of vodka, and just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and no carbonation. So smooth. And now, just in time for the best time of year, super light. 4 different flavors of the sports drink from Surfside. Again, no carbonation, so smooth, and just 90 calories inside of Super Light. Surfside, look for the can with the sunset stripes wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21 and please consume responsibly.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Caleb, if you can, tell me in my ear again what time I need to be out. My apologies. I'm loopy today. Hold on. Jenna Fryer's telling me later than that. I think she just wants to hang around longer, which is, I'll be honest with you, at this point we're bordering on loitering. But that's okay. Okay, so Jenna, real quick, and you're more than welcome to honestly stay as long as you'd like.
I'm out.
No, that's fine.
I don't stick around.
I'll be honest with you. I need the help if you could. You were just mocking me.
You give your phone number out on the air?
2 different times now. You've called me weird twice in 5 minutes.
You give your phone number out on the air?
Now lift the microphone up here. Be a radio professional.
Okay. You give your phone number out on the air?
Of course.
But aren't you afraid of all the women that will climb into your inbox?
No. Well, first off, I don't know if you know the demographic. We have 44 female listeners.
44.
Yeah, and if you're in town, 45. But
I don't listen to you.
So, well, that's just, well aware.
I just sit here and get talked at.
No. Now, I'll be honest with you. Shannon has no problem with me giving the number out. She's like, she's fine with it. She's very confident, right? And comfortable in our relationship, as she should be. And so, no, I have enjoyed it because it allows the interaction. I think the thing that's the most fun is people will text me and they'll be like, hey, we're having a debate, like, who won the 83 Final Four or whatever else, or, any sorts of questions. And so, and late at night, I'll just sit there and like interact with people. It's cool. I enjoy it.
Okay.
523-9288. That's a 317 area code, obviously. 523-9288.
Are you trying to give me your number?
What does throw? If you were female listener 45, you'd have it. One of the things that's always fun is when I throw the number out and then people call right then. I think and I'm like, well, I'm a little tied up. Little tied up.
I'm gonna test that.
Here we go. We'll test it. But unfortunately, you mistimed exactly when Caleb said for me to be out. So if you're going to call me right now, it's going to happen during the commercial break because we will be back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on this Fast Friday. Oh, look, I'm getting a phone call. I don't know this person, actually. Do not answer is how it comes up on my phone. I have no idea who that is. All right, we'll be back at IMS here. Fast Friday and possibly an update on when they'll get running. We'll let you know next.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Little Oasis pull by Caleb Zuber here. By the way, cars are out on track, and it is Pata O'Ward that is the first to take to this 2.5-mile oval as Fast Friday practice is finally underway, and it will now extend until 7 p.m. So instead of being completed at 6 o'clock today, Fast Friday qualifying simulated runs will happen between now and 7 o'clock. And Pata O'Ward, again, is the first to go out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining in. My name is Jake Query. Caleb Zuber is back in for Eddie Garrison on this program that we call Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The best thing about Fast Friday is I get to itemize every single media person at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway because the American Dairy Association of Indiana gives away their milkshakes, and it literally is like a casting call of everybody that's ever been credentialed, which is pretty cool. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing everybody. Certainly enjoyed off the top of the program today. If you did not hear it, then I would encourage you, particularly after 6 p.m., once John is done today, to take a listen to Mario Andretti that joined me for. Caleb, how long was that? About 30 minutes, I think, right?
Yeah, it was. I learned a lot, and I think Mario, just at the end there, just talking about why he keeps coming back here, what he loves about it. It was a great conversation. I enjoyed it.
He is, I think, and we can get into the Colts schedule, which we will do so here in just a moment, but I will actually, and I hate to say that I'll be philosophical here, but I will, okay? Each year when I know that we're going to be broadcasting from here, the one interview that I always make sure to line up is Mario. And he is always super gracious about it. He is super accommodating and kind, and all of those things. And I've mentioned before, it's funny because when I was a kid, the Andrettis were definitely a polarizing family when it came to racing in Indianapolis because whenever anybody is the best and they're the best for a long period of time, you either pull for them or you pull against them, right? I wouldn't say that I pulled against Mario Andretti, but I was always a fan of Al Unser because he looked kind of like my dad. And so I liked Al Unser Jr. a great deal. And I have when I was in the second grade, we were learning how to write, proper penmanship, whatever. And we had to write on a sheet of paper. We had to tell a story. I have no idea what the assignment per se was, but I still had it. And I told the story of coming to my first Indy 500 in 1981. And in the story, it was like 3 lines, but I just said, I went to the Indianapolis 500. A man named Bobby Unser won the race, but he passed cars under the yellow, and that is a no-no, so he should not have won the race. And my mom still had that sheet of paper, and years later, a few years ago, had it matted for me and put into kind of a plaque. And I posted it once on social media, and it was a thrill of all thrills that Mario Andretti replied to it and said, "This is an A+ for accuracy," which is just the greatest thing ever. But he is just such a genuine person. And, there are certain things where you feel like a connection with people to an extent. And I'm not saying that Mario Andretti has the unique ability to make everyone feel that way when they meet him. That is one of his greatest characteristics. And, I mentioned to him, I can only imagine what it must be to know that when you walk around and you go places, that when you meet people, virtually every person you meet, you have made their day, that they are able to then say, I met Mario Andretti. And on my way in this morning, I've talked about it now 50,000 times. So everybody, if you've been listening for a while, I probably belabored the point, but I was involved in a pretty nasty car pileup at 38th in Michigan on my way here this morning. It was ugly. I'm going to have to get a new car. There's no question about that. Everything from the car was on fire it was ugly. And I got out of the car, and it's interesting. There's this weird thing that happens when you're in a car accident like that, where I got out and there was the girl behind me had just graduated from college, and she said, I'm actually moving today to Chicago, but her car's totaled. But she had everything in the back of the car. Her dad showed up. She was not hurt, fortunately. She was shaken up, understandably. There was another woman who was very hysterical and emotional, and then her, I presume, husband showed up and calmed her down, and she was not hurt physically, thankfully. And everybody's standing around, and you just kind of feel this like connection with everybody because you've gone through this. And I'll probably never see those folks again, but you automatically feel this bond with them. And it's a very surreal thing. It's a very bizarre thing, but it's a very real thing, and it's a very human thing. And as I was standing there with everybody, my first thought was I was supposed to go do an event that I MC every year that I look forward to all year long. It's a tradition of doing a Q&A with Dario Franchitti, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make that. And then I thought, I have Mario right off the top of the show, and how am I going to get to work? And then, oh gosh, I forgot I don't have a car now. I mean, it kind of turns things upside down for you. But with all of that going on and with just everything that goes with it, there was just this calming nature. The perfect person to have on the radio show for the first 30 minutes today was Mario Andretti, because there's just something about his presence that is calming, quite frankly. It's calming. And it truly was, as it always is, a real blessing to be able to talk to him, and I greatly appreciate that. It also made me feel better about last night with my beloved Buffalo Sabres. They were up 3-2. I thought for certain, here we go. They're going to be up 3-2 in the series. Let's go Sabres. I'm going to start breaking couches, all of that. And then here come the Canadians, and boom, 6-3 final, and now it's 3-2 headed back to Montreal, and we'll see what happens as to whether or not they can force a Game 7. Caleb, have we found – I've not looked at it yet what Jennifer Fryer reports. Do we know that in fact, did you watch – you said you did not watch the Chargers release video, correct?
I don't think so, no. I must have missed this, which is crazy considering, I was camping out all week for this, Jake. I don't know how this slipped through the cracks.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Is it terribly lame, and it probably is, to sit here and go over the wins and losses, if you will, and sit here and say, okay, here's what their record's going to be? I mean, we have no idea, right?
Listen, that is sports radio, Jake. That is what we do.
But this isn't. This ain't sports radio. That's the thing. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna do this, Caleb. I'm gonna do it your fashion. We're gonna give you the official, easy Colts win-loss on the year. Okay. I am literally not going to, and I don't want interpretation. I don't want breakdown. I don't want narrative. I'm going to give you the game, and then you tell me instinctively right there, boom, win or loss. Okay?
Right.
Here we go. Baltimore Ravens at home.
Loss.
Okay. At Kansas City.
Loss.
Texans at home.
Loss.
Commanders in London.
Win.
At Pittsburgh.
Win.
Ooh, okay. Mm-hmm. Tennessee at home.
Win.
Minnesota in Minnesota.
Win.
At Jacksonville.
Loss.
Dallas at home.
Loss.
Miami at home.
Win.
Okay. Texans in Houston.
Loss.
Thursday Night Football.
Loss.
Giants at home.
Win.
Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. At Philadelphia.
Loss.
At Tennessee.
Win.
I know where this is headed. Cincinnati at home.
Win.
At Cleveland.
I just feel I don't have the heart to do it, but I just know that game's going to be annoying. I'm going to say win and then loss Jacksonville Week 18.
Okay, you got them at 9-8.
Yes, I do.
And that feels very status quo, does it not?
It does. And slow start to start the season. I think that's what we've seen and been accustomed to. So,
okay, Alexa Ross is here from CBS 4. You also look like now your jacket here that you have on. Was this now be honest? It's a nice Speedway jacket. I like it. Was this a wow? This is cool. I'm going to buy this. It's on sale jacket, or was it a oh gosh, I forgot to bring a jacket and I'm freezing. I'm going to go buy one.
This was a I thought it was cool. saw Home Field put it out. Shout out Home Field Apparel, one of our best Indiana-based brands. And I was just like, oh, this is super cool. I'm going to buy it. And my friend is head of social, and I was like, hey, man, let's do it. And she gave me her employee discount, and I bought it.
Oh, nice. So, okay. Colts record, you have them at what?
God, is it bad that I haven't even really looked at the schedule?
Okay, I'm going to read it off to you. You ready? We're going to go just your instinct here, okay?
Okay.
I mean, no, just boom, boom,
Yep.
boom, okay? Baltimore at home.
Loss.
Okay. At Kansas City.
Loss.
Houston at home.
I could win that.
At Washington.
I could win that.
Actually, that's in London.
I still think they can win that.
Okay. At Pittsburgh.
Who's their quarterback?
It's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Win. Sure.
Okay. Tennessee at home.
Win.
At Minnesota.
I could go either way. I'll say win.
Okay. At Jacksonville.
Loss if it's at Jacksonville.
Dallas at home.
Loss.
Miami at home.
Win.
At Houston.
Also could go either way. I'll take that one as a loss.
Okay. Giants at home.
Win.
At Philadelphia.
Loss.
At Tennessee.
Win.
Cincinnati at home.
I'm not going to call that a trap game, so win.
At Cleveland.
That, I think, could be a trap game loss.
Okay. Jacksonville at home.
Win.
Do you happen to have the breaking news sounder by chance, Caleb? This just in, according to Alexa Ross of CBS 4, Colts go 10-7 on the year. 10-7 on the year. Does that win them the division, or does that win them? That gets them a wild card, right?
I think that gets them in the wild card. I don't think they win the division.
Okay, fair enough. 10-7. Did you? Okay, I will allow you to be the barometer. I've been asking this question today, maybe to the point where it's redundant that I'm asking it, but I will ask you as well.
It's fine.
The schedule release videos that every team does, still fun or starting to border on played out?
I think some teams, their staffs do a better job than others, and
some try too hard.
Some are trying too hard. Some, I think, really nail it, and I think that, unfortunately, one of those teams is in the division, and they will continue to hold the crown for probably the NFL at large.
So, which team is that?
The Titans. The Titans have always done a really good job.
Okay. The Chargers do too, right?
The Chargers do a good job. The Titans do a really good job. But the Titans were the first people to go on Broadway and be like, "What is this logo? Like, who is this team?" And it was just absolute absurd comedy.
But you can only do it one time, though.
Correct.
And they tried to do it like others have tried to replicate that.
Yeah, but they did it the first time and hit, and I think that really kind of solidified them as like, okay, like this social team.
They're the benchmark.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing about it, there is part of me that deep down is like, can I just see the schedule? You know what I mean? And I thought it was weird too. Didn't everybody release those like 30 minutes before it was on television?
Yes. I think I saw the time was like 7, because it was supposed to be what, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, exactly.
And
everybody was sending them out by 7:30.
It was like 7:27. I saw the opponents like home and away released, and I was like, well, what is the point of NFL Network carrying this then?
Right. I also, that was one that caught me off guard a little bit. I was surprised by it. But I do think that, on a serious note, if you were to break down, because we really don't know, let's be honest, Alexa, you have no idea between injuries and who's going to be playing. Whoever would have guessed a year ago when the schedule release came out and the Colts, started out 8-1, there's nobody in other markets that were looking at like week 9 going, oh, the Indianapolis is going to be a tough game, right?
No.
But I do think the bye week coming later in the year, it is my belief that is advantageous. What say you?
I agree. I think that you always are going to hope for and pray for getting that draw of the later bye week so people can rest, relax, recover, get their bodies right, get back into it. Because if you have that week 5 or 6 bye, sure, that's nice, especially if you're coming off an international trip. They're very lucky to not have their bye being right after their international trip. But I know they tried to. I've noticed
because the international trip is so early.
Yes,
right.
Correct. Yeah, but a lot of teams will have that happen. So it's like, oh no, they actually do get the time to rest when their bodies are really gonna need it.
What is the game, Caleb? What's the game immediately following the trip? Okay, it's Houston at home. So no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. It's at Pittsburgh. So that is tough.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing about Pittsburgh too, though, is like new coach, the quarterback.
There's a lot of question marks about Pittsburgh for certain, but you come back.
You gotta get back into it.
But I realize this: it's not like they're coming back and they might have like a layover and miss their flight in Philadelphia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be back. Their bodies will adjust theoretically by Tuesday or Wednesday, and you're
It's
back.
It's not
home.
that hard of a time difference to get over. It's not. I lived there for 4 months, and I came back.
It's easier coming back. It's
For
harder
sure.
going there than it's easier coming back, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
You lived in London?
Yes.
What were you doing in London?
My junior year, I lived and studied there.
For how long?
5 months.
Did you enjoy it?
Loved it. I want to go back. I know I won't be going to that game because.
Did you? Why won't you?
Because, when there's a hierarchy, I have bosses. My bosses will be going, and they'll have a great time, and I'll give them all the suggestions they want. But
is it on your air? Do we know that yet?
I don't know that yet. I know that people will make bids. They do that, I think, a little later.
Right. Okay.
I don't think that's been – right now it's the NFL Network game, so.
When you were living over there,
yes,
did you utilize that opportunity to travel other places in Europe aside from London?
Yes. I went to 9 other countries.
Oh, can I guess the 9?
Please.
Well, it doesn't make for great radio. But Spain, France?
Spain and France.
Germany?
Germany, yes. I did Carnival
Austria?
there. No, Austria.
Oh, Austria's great.
I want to go to
Portugal?
Austria.
Portugal?
No, Austria and Portugal are like my two.
Oh, Ireland, Scotland?
Scotland, Ireland.
Scotland's great.
I love Scotland. I would move to Edinburgh tomorrow.
100% agree. Could not agree more, except for the weather's like this all the time.
Whatever.
But it is so cool.
Fine.
Like, it is such a cool city that, like, it is so pretty. And in Edinburgh, Scotland, I stayed right along what's called the Royal Mile right there,
Yep.
right? And literally we walked into the first, pub that we walked into was the guy that owns it is a huge auto racing fan, and it literally was themed. As soon as I walked in, there was a map of Indianapolis on the wall.
That's crazy.
I was like, what in the world? Yeah, it was.
There was a Philly bar in London that we randomly went to a couple Eagles games at. We just showed up and we were like, this is cool, whatever.
And it's just all decorated in Philly stuff?
It was one of those things where you walked in and you were like, whoa, this feels like it would be in a Chicago or a bigger American city, but I was like, oh, Jesus, this is very cool.
Who is your driver analyst, by the way, for CBS 4?
CBS 4, it's Marcus Erickson. Fox 59, it is Ed Carpenter.
Okay, and so what storylines, if any, have been, because we were just talking about it, I was with Jenna Fryer, the reality is, Alexa, fair or not, there just has not been a lot of overwhelming storylines so far this week in terms of practice. We haven't seen, I don't think, any overwhelming surprises.
Well, I think, too, that's by design in that this is the second year with the hybrid. So instead of doing the really cautious entering of last May like they did and, a lot of runs because they wanted to see what it would do, now I think it's you had 11 months to copy each other's homework and then you start tinkering with what you actually want. So it's more time in the garages than out here, which is why we've seen minimal pack running. We've seen qualifying sims, but no one's up at speed.
Right.
Because no one's turned up their boost. That's what today is for, and I don't even know how many people have actually ran. I think one car go by.
So Ward went out and did basically just an install lap. And for those that don't know, that basically means that's where you go out and you make sure everything's working, right? You don't get up to speed at all. And Christian Lundgaard did the same, and so far that's it.
Perfect, great. See?
And they're going till 7 o'clock. You know that, right? You're not going to be here later today?
Happy hour is going to be later, I guess.
That's right.
And then the draw at 7. Does that make the draw 7:15?
I would imagine, yeah.
Oh
the draw for the qualifying order will be at 7. And then tomorrow, I think, and this is why today is somewhat important, though, Alexa, because it is possible that the conditions tomorrow are going to be similar to today. I think a lot warmer, but it could be overcast and whatnot, right?
And, track temperature. I mean, clouds determine track temperature more than anything else does. So I think that all right, we got people going out. Not sort of, not really. But, yeah, I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what happens racing-wise, specifically today, just because I know we all talk about this being overreaction week, whatever. You have different people who led each practice, but it's okay, not everyone's going out for the same amount of time. People are not really running the way we've seen them run before. Scott Dixon talked about that this morning too, about I'm genuinely super surprised by that because this is his 24th 500.
Isn't that amazing?
Doesn't look a day over 40.
He also, by the way, this is one of those years. This place is weird in this point. There have been so many years where Scott Dixon should have won this race. I mean, he
should be a 3-time champion.
Totally. And
for sure.
Yet, this is the kind of year where all of a sudden, like Castroneves' 4th, this would be the kind of year where Dixon is just kind of hanging around, and then in the end, you're like, holy cow, he's going to do it. That would not surprise me.
My first 500 was the one he should have won, but had the drive-through penalty because of the speeds on pit lane.
I will never forget it. Being up in the turn and hearing we have
number 9, yeah.
Well, when we're up there, we have all kinds of audio channels, right? And so were doing the race, and I remember I was making a call, and I hear the one of the people in my ears say, drive-through penalty, car number 9, speed infraction on pit road. And I'm like, oh, holy cow, did I just hear that correct?
And he's not someone who makes surgical. That man doesn't make mistakes. So we love Marcus. He's our driver analyst. Very happy that he's a 500 champion. That to say, Scott Dixon is, among the titans in the sport. And you just really hope it.
For sure.
I would love to see him win it again. I'd love to see Will win it with a new team after, leaving Penske after, as long as he was there. I think that'd be great. I would love to see Ed win, not just because he's my driver analyst, but he's really been working for this for.
He has.
This is his baby.
I mean, there are a lot of really good stories in it, right? I mean, if Connor Daly won, it would be huge, no doubt about it. If Castor Nevis wins, it goes without saying it would be huge. I always, there are those that and probably shouldn't say the names necessarily publicly, but there are those drivers that we all know, gosh, if they win it, would it really move the needle? Would it really do any good for the league or the series or, the event itself?
But then you have the drivers who absolutely it would be your Pato Awards.
Who would be the biggest of the field? Which one, if they were to win the Indy 500, would be the biggest story?
I do think Pato. I think Pato Wood, he's come close so many times. He's had a pretty bad season so far.
He would be huge.
He'd be huge. He has a massive fan base. It would pull in all the people everyone from Mexico, Latin America. I think that'd be massive. I'm trying to think who else.
There's one that's the clear-cut winner of this question.
And the second you say it, I'm going to be like, of course.
It's kind of a curveball. It's kind of a trick question to an extent.
I mean, Elio, of course. But
Elio for sure.
But we brought that up, so it's not him.
There's only one other driver beside. If Elio were to win, it would be his 5th. That has never been accomplished. There's only one other driver that can do something that would be historic.
Jesus, who's going for 3? Or who's going for 4? Is anybody going for 4? No, because Takuma's going for his 3rd. Ryan Hunter-Reay's going for 2. Who's going for back-to-back? Jesus.
You have to say G's, by the way.
I'm sorry, guys. Meanwhile, you say jackass yesterday. Sorry, calling him out.
That's not a theological thing. There's a slight difference.
Oh, my goodness. Pillow, winning back-to-back.
No.
I mean, who?
Catherine Legg.
Oh, yeah.
Catherine Legg would
fair.
be very big. So Catherine Legg would be the one.
Yeah, that's fair. And I love her. The car is – seeing that chrome car run in the sunshine, holy cow.
It's cool,
it's gorgeous.
It's definitely cool. All right, so what's the story that you're working for today on CBS 4? What are we looking forward to?
We got to keep seeing how these runs go. So, TBD.
TBD, to be determined. All right, did you get a milkshake?
I did. It's right here.
By the way, what's the special flavor today?
We don't get it until rookie luncheon. So Tuesday we'll know what the special flavor is. And Sherry wouldn't tell me.
Do you know the best thing about the rookie luncheon, aside from the American Dairy Association of Indiana and aside from honoring the fastest rookie and the 4 rookies that will be in this year's field?
We get to know what the Dairy Barn milkshake of the summer will be.
That and also the host.
That's you.
I'm obligated to say that, at least for my own self-worth, right? All right, Alexa, I appreciate you coming by. Enjoy your jacket. Enjoy your milkshake. I just saw James Rowe walking around. I might throw him on here in just a second. Okay. It is a Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday, too, by the way. And we might have an extra headset if we want to join in here on the conversation. We do over there, I think. Is James coming by? I thought I just saw him walking past. But the 2 to 7 today. So obviously we are underway. We're 24 minutes into it, running until 7 o'clock today for the simulated qualifying runs that will take place. Jack Harvey just went out and turned some laps at about 226 miles an hour. We would anticipate that we may see, what would you think, Alexa, up over 230, we would think, with the boost?
Probably 233.
I mean, depending on the wind, right?
Yeah, in either turn 1 or turn 3.
So
yeah, I think we could see upwards of 237, and depending on where the wind is in turn 1 or 3. Yeah,
I would. Again, it's going to be dependent upon that. All right, James Rowe just walked over from Indy Next. Let me see here. If I'm not sure, you may have to give him.
I was going to say he can take mine.
I think you're going to have to give him your headsets, Alexa. My apologies.
I'm getting demoted.
No, you're not demoted by any stretch of the imagination. But James Rowe has joined us here from Indy Next, and you guys just had obviously a heck of a weekend to start things off on the road course, and now you get to sit and watch, right? So I'm curious, as a driver that is looking towards getting up into the NTT IndyCar Series, what sort of things do you observe and learn here while you're here?
I think, for here, in a roundabout way, I admire the respect that you see them all take, and how they work into the month of May, build up to it, trim out slowly, you just see the respect that this place earns, and even the experienced guys have been coming here for, in some case, 20 years. Every year it's still methodical. They still work into it. No risks are taken. And then you see it build up. And you come to Fast Friday, boost goes up, qualifying weekend. And it's just a fascinating place. You see what goes into it to a month of May. It's awesome to watch.
By the way, and obviously you're with Ganassi Racing, right? So you have the ability to kind of pick the brains and observe from, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Dario Franchitti, who's no longer racing but is within the team itself, Kiffin Simpson, who was in your seat not long ago in terms of running an Indy Next. Do you notice, and I'll use Dixon as an example, here's a guy that has led more laps than anybody in the history of this track. But does he still, by your observation, is he still a guy that's learning?
Absolutely.
Is he still asking questions?
Yeah, he's still hungry, I think, is why he's still here. I shouldn't say asking questions, but you see a guy like him, certainly I know he trains more than anyone that I know from a physical and mental level, and his level of intensity and hunger to be better still after all these years is as if it was day one from what I can see, and that's what's really admiring, as a young driver looking up to someone like him. He's the accolades, he's the results, he has the fitness level, he has the knowledge probably to wing it a little bit, but yet he shows up every day. I think it was last year, it was on rain delays at Pit Fit. I was training one afternoon, and who rocks in is Scott Dixon on a rain delays at the gym. That just gives you an example of where that guy's head's at and his level of intensity and work ethic. So, yeah, he's a role model, honestly, for a lot of guys here.
How about Palou? I mean, what sort of things can you learn from Alex Palou?
I think his mindset and mind frame is very, very strong. Whether you're listening on his radio, over the course of a race weekend, his positivity, nothing ever appears to be a problem. I think a great example of that was, I believe it was 2024 when he was fighting for the championship, and they were in Milwaukee and they had that hybrid issue. There's a clip of him as they're working on the car, as he's fighting for his championship, is sitting on a cooler drinking a Gatorade. That guy's head is just so in it, and he is not rattled one bit, and he constantly believes in himself and his crew. So very different, but remarkable in each of their own way.
What sort of things? James Rowe is my guest, who's an Indy Next driver driving for Chip Ganassi, and you've got a couple cars in that stable as well. So I've always found it interesting at your level, and I wanted you to touch on this. You have teammates they're your teammates and your friends and your colleagues, but at the same time, there are only so many seats in the next rung. So how do you parlay the competitive nature of knowing that you're all fighting against one another, but you're also kind of trying to help out?
Yeah, that's the same in every championship. You have teammates, you got to work with them, you got to elevate the program, you got to get it to where it needs to be, or your ownership group expects it to be. But yet you're looking out for yourself at the same time. So I think there's a very, very fine line. For it's team first always is the approach in which you're brought up around, and then you do the talking on track, so to speak. So thankfully at Chip Ganassi Racing, it's one team, one goal, as they say, and Chip gives us everything we need, and then it comes down to drivers to get it done on track.
What sort of things do you hope to learn, not just here, and it's got to be hard, right, to watch and not be able to get in one of those cars and get out there and get going?
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, when I got my first IndyCar test last fall here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it was on a road course, of course, but just driving an IndyCar here with the history that is here for IndyCar, it was phenomenal, and I can only imagine what it feels like to be here for the 500. It's where I want to be one day, and hopefully this time next year I'm sitting in a race seat. Of course, I want to be chatting to you too, but that's where we want to be.
James, this is the beauty of the whole thing here, right? Chat with me. Come on now. No, I get it, right? Your overall thoughts just on this facility?
Oh, I mean, it's out of this world. Anytime we bring a partner here or a partner group here, or people travel in, globally for that matter, and they come to this racetrack, they can't believe the facility, B, the cleanliness of it, and then just see what the Penske Group has put together, from the museum to the facility itself, and you see Roger driving around looking after himself still today. I mean, how can you not admire that?
Right, absolutely. Up next for you guys is Detroit, right? That's right. That's a pretty hairy racetrack, though. Pretty narrow, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's a tricky place. It's probably the bumpiest track we go to in Indy Next at the moment. And yeah, one of the longest straights on the schedule and one of the tightest hairpins at the end of it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Great race around the GM buildings, and Penske do an awesome job promoting that one.
What separates, lastly, you guys in your – and by the way, folks, it is a Franciscan Health Feel Good for the Heart Friday. We'll get to that here in just a couple of minutes from now. Don't forget the heart scan for just $49 from Franciscan Health. But chatting with James Rowe here from Chip Ganassi Racing in Indy Next. What is the separator between your level – and I don't mean that condescendingly, but, and getting to the NTT IndyCar Series in terms of maybe just the last craft that you feel like you need to master?
Yeah, what I will tell you is it's getting harder and harder to get into IndyCar right now. The championship is so stout, and there's a lot of guys that have firmly put their mark down on their seats, let's say. But for us, in Indy Next, it's A, about performance, B, about showing a level of maturity and mental capacity, because when you get to that level, you got to be able to develop a car and give feedback and, hold your own over the course of a long season. And quite frankly, then, the partner groups that go with it, we all know it's no secret in motorsport that it's partners that make all this happen for every one of us here. So, making sure that end of things is in a healthy position to go and make the machine run is an important piece too. So a lot of things that need to come together to make a successful IndyCar season happen. But thankfully, we got a few things rolling, and it's looking pretty exciting.
Speaking of machines, did you get a milkshake? They got a milkshake
I'm
machine
going to run over there.
Yeah, there you go. You get milkshakes now and milk later when it comes to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, right?
Let's do it.
As long as you get everything going. James, I appreciate it, man. Wish you the best of luck and good insights as well, man. I appreciate it. And we'll see you in Detroit, okay?
Thanks, buddy.
All right, James Rowe joining us from Chip Ganassi Racing. All right, we come back. It is a Franciscan Health Feel Good for the Heart Friday, and a story about this place. Just something about it that's different. You hear me say that all the time, and I got a story that exemplifies exactly that.
listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It is a Friday. It is the bottom of the hour. That means it is time for a Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday, brought to you by our great friends at Franciscan Health. By the way, great news to report on this. Our friend J-Law, we talked about it at the Franciscan Health Golf Outing. J-Law was there and, of course, has been very proactive for everybody about the importance of men's health and getting his prostate cancer checked. And he had a surgery, and he was awaiting the results to make sure that cancer-free after the second scan of that, and he just let me know that, in fact, that is the case. So still all good for J-Law, and we all collectively celebrate that as friends, and obviously his bravery in sharing that story with everybody throughout his journey. And we talked about that at the Franciscan Health Golf Outing. And I was telling everybody about just the affordable nature of the $49 heart scan. And the number of people, my buddy Rex just sent me a message last week. He got a heart scan. And it means a lot to me to know that people are taking that step and making sure that they're getting that first step towards cardiovascular health. And doing it, by the way, with the number one heart program in Indiana for cardiology, number one by health grades in Indiana for interventional coronary care by health grades, number one, they say Franciscan. And just $49, you can self-refer, pay out of pocket, get that heart scan, and you get with it a heart health risk assessment, which is the other really important nature of all of this, because it just gives you the idea. I talked to somebody the other day about the heart scan, and they said, when you get like the calcium score, for example, think of it as basically like snow tracks. It means that they can see then whether or not there has been a buildup of different things and what sort of medications you might want to go on, lifestyles, whatever it might be, to make sure that you are heart healthy. And it is so important, and I thank everybody who has participated within that. All right, we're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is Fast Friday. They have just gotten things underway. It looks like 1992 race out here. It is cold and blustery and overcast, but nonetheless, people come out, right? And we know that they will be out here in earnest coming up 1 week from Sunday for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race, because there's just nothing like it. That's why they sell it out to the point of, they could sell this thing out twice and almost hit NFL draft numbers. That's how many people show up for the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And one of those that's going to be there, think about this. The greatest tradition in all of sport is that of Louis Meyer. Louis Meyer in 1936 said to his friends, you know what, that race is so hot that at the end of it, regardless of where I finish, can you do me a favor and can you have a bottle of ice-cold buttermilk waiting for me? And his friend said, yeah, that's like the weirdest thing ever, but sure, sounds good. So they did. Louis Meyer in 1936 won the Indianapolis 500. He got out of his car. He grabbed that bottle of buttermilk. He took a swig of it, and it ended up being on the front page of the Indianapolis Times. And the American Dairy Association, who's giving out milkshakes just behind me today, said, you know what, that actually, what a look. There's a guy taking a bottle of buttermilk and a swig of it right on the front page of the newspaper. Maybe we should present that to the winner each and every year. And it didn't necessarily begin as a tradition then consecutively. It took a while, but then now obviously it is the tradition that we know in sport, and it began, again, 90 years ago. Now, 90 years ago also was the first in a run for Jerry Hofmackel. Now, you don't know Jerry Hofmackel, probably. Maybe you've heard the name recently. Yesterday, he celebrated a birthday, and he blew out 100 candles because yesterday was Jerry's 100th birthday. Jerry grew up on the west side of Indianapolis in Speedway in the area, and his grandfather was a fan of auto racing. And that's why when he was a young boy, his grandfather said, Jerry, we're going to go to this new track at 16th and Georgetown, and we are going to watch a race that's going to last for 500 miles, and we'll see what happens at the end. And whoever would have guessed that he would see Louis Meyer take that famous swig of milk and that Jerry would be there 90 years ago. But not only did Jerry celebrate his 100th birthday yesterday, not only has Jerry done the two-seater ride at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but coming up 1 week from Sunday, he will attend his 86th Indianapolis 500-mile race, which when you consider the years that there were no race because of World War II, that means that Jerry has been as consistent at this place as the sunshine, the tenderloins, the beer, or the milk. And that's what makes this place special. People like Jerry that throughout their life, throughout the things that they've done, throughout all of the different experiences they've had, there's one thing that they always come back to. And it's why we led the show off today by talking to Mario Andretti, who for the first time since 1965, there will not be an Andretti in the Indy 500, but nonetheless, Mario is always back here. And it's the familiarity of those faces, it's the familiarity of those names, and the familiarity of those storylines that always bring us back. And in this case, it is somebody coming back that the rest of us can look at and say simply, happy birthday and good to see you again. We'll come back. We have one last pair of tickets to give away for the 110th Indy 500, and we'll do it on the other side. 239-1070. You better get in line. We'll do the crossover with John as well. Hey there, Jake Quarry for Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141 is the telephone number. An official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. This time of year, you're probably saying to yourself, boy, what a perfect time to get the AC check, because it's not going to be like this for long. And I know that Love Heating and Air, being an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer, are the guys to bring out to my house to do exactly that, or gals, and that's exactly what they are. Great customer service, great product, goes without saying when you're an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer, and a commitment to all of it with 24-hour on-call maintenance. That's everything you get and more from Love Heating and Air. That's love-hvac.com, 317-353-2141. Hey there, Jake Quarry for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripe. Surfside, of course, with iced tea and vodka. Blueberry lemonade and vodka is one of their best lemonade flavors, and straight lemonade and vodka. Or you could also do a mix and match amongst the flavors. And don't forget about Super Light. That is the sports drink with 4 different flavors to it. Just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar in Surfside, and just 90 calories within the Super Light, and always no bubbles, no carbonation, so smooth. Look for Surfside wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21 and please consume responsibly.
Barry and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, so we have tickets to give away for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And I usually do this in trivia form. We'll probably do that again, to be honest with you. So we have a number of callers who have called in. We'll get to the crossover with J&B, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. But let's begin with, to the phone lines for the tickets. We'll begin with David, joins us on the program. David, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. David, how many times have you been to the Indianapolis 500, if at all?
Never been.
On a 1 to 10 scale, what is your level of fandom or interest for the Indianapolis 500?
9.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right, that's pretty good. Never been. So here we got tickets on the line now. I feel kind of compelled, David, to give them to you at this point. If you don't mind me asking, and I don't mean it to be inquisitive, for what reason have you never attended the Indy 500?
I'm not huge on crowds.
Okay, well, that's a tough challenge on this one, right? But are you willing to withstand that this year if you were to get tickets, for example? What's that?
I said yes, I would be.
Okay. All right, here's my question for you, David, for the pair of tickets. You ready? What driver with 6 has been on the pole position more than anybody in the history of the race? Who has more pole positions than anybody in the history of the Indy 500?
Rick Mears.
Rick Mears is indeed correct. David, I got news for you. I got good news and bad news. You ready?
Yeah.
The good news is you have won the tickets. The bad news is you just won tickets for the largest single-day spectator sport in the world. So I'm not making light of your aversion to crowds. I totally get it. But if you can, and I certainly hope that doesn't hold you back from enjoying it because it's unlike anything you've ever seen. I appreciate, obviously, your enthusiasm and knowledge of it, and whether it is you or someone that you give them to enjoy the race itself, David. I certainly hope that they go to good use, but more importantly, I appreciate you listening to this program and calling into us, all right?
Thank you.
That's David, the very excitable David, by the way, who is on his way to the Indy 500. Caleb will get that information. All right, do we have J&B, by the way, as part of the crossover? I'm not sure if he's in studio or if he's out on remote.
He is on remote, and we're trying to get that hooked up at the moment right now. So
okay.
Well,
speaking of hooked up, I will tell you this right now. In terms of the boost itself, we thought we'd see a little more speed, and we're starting to see it. Alexander Rossi, 232.392 miles an hour. That's the fastest speed of the day. Alexander Rossi at 232.392. The guy that has been the most consistently fast from the time that they rolled off the truck, to use that term, is Connor Daly, and he is again fast today, 232.311 miles an hour for Connor Daly. That puts him second fastest on the speed chart right now. Again, when we say they put extra boost, that means that they do get the extra speed. They're allowed to use that for qualifying as well. Then that boost comes back out of the car, and that means when the boost comes out of the car that they go back to essentially the speeds they were running over the course of the week. But it is consistent, clearly, with those pre-boost and post-boost in terms of the speed itself. Connor Daly has been really, really good. And talked to Davey Hamilton yesterday about that Brian Reinbold team, and they feel really confident about it. Keep in mind, that team a year ago had Ryan Hunter-Reay in position to win the Indy 500. And then at the last second on his last pit stop, they had a fueling issue, and fuel got kind of stuck within that fuel hose. It drained out, and once the fuel runs out, they could not get the engine back going to the point that they needed it, and that was what did end Ryan Hunter-Reay a year ago. Christian Lundgaard is the third fastest today, followed by Santino Ferrucci, Jack Harvey, 231.365 for Jack Harvey, Nolan Siegel, Rinus VeeKay, Romain Grosjean, Kiffin Simpson, and Mick Schumacher round out the top 10. As a matter of fact, all of those through Grosjean are over 230 miles an hour. Now Schumacher just did a 230.154 miles an hour. So Mick Schumacher starting to find a little bit of speed for that Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing team. Again, they will go until 7 o'clock tonight. We should see speeds, I would think, jumping up over 233, probably 233 and a half or so might be the max we see today, but we shall see. That's why we're out here, to find out exactly what it is that takes place. By the way, somebody told me that their I have no idea how or why, but somebody just sent me a text saying that their son apparently has video of the crash that I was in today, or at least of the suspects running away. Again, there was word that they may have been exceeding into the triple digits in terms of their speed when that crash happened, and then unfortunately wiped out my car and that of 5 others. But the good news is everybody is okay. I would like to again thank the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department as well as the EMTs that were very quickly on scene to make sure that everybody was okay. Thank you again to Mario Andretti for his time today, James Rowe as well, Alexa Ross, everybody that was part of it, James that stopped by, Jenna Fryer as well, and Joel A. Erickson, the blood donating hero. All right, we'll be back with you coming up at noon on Monday. John's up next, I think.